TradeDevils. All right, welcome to Bitcoin Saturday. Oh, every now and then something comes up, keeps me from doing it on a Friday. That was the case yesterday. So let's just dig in here. Well, there's not a huge amount of price action here, but it's not insignificant. So let's just take a peek here. Now, as to how we're labeling this is pretty much a wag, right? Anyone looking at this is something one of my senseis, Sensei GZ 1968, but you know we all know him as George. It's creative, right? It's the idea that we've got W triangle X into a Y, finished with an ABC here into a Y. Oh, let's see. I think if I go down to a smaller time frame here, we can see it. This was his thinking. I think it's as reasonable as anything I've seen. It's not an impulse, or we can all agree on that. It's kind of a long, choppy, bumpy B wave. Well, that's reasonable, it seems. Oh, you'll note here I've got a fair value gap indicator on here just to identify those imbalances, and you can see this is a prime location. Interesting when we come right to the edge of it. So where if we're coming down for a C, well, first question is, okay, well, where do we want that C? Well, ideally, we'd be coming down here towards the 2338, right? This is where the market is prone to going. We have lots of imbalances down here, so there's a reason for the algo to come down here. You can see a potential. I mean, you could rationalize this. Now, of course, the market's under no obligation to do anything ever, but you could certainly see how this would make sense. So we've got an obvious liquidity grab here. First, let's see how it deals with this imbalance here. It's got a partial mitigation here. This to the edge and then bounces. Interesting. Obvious liquidity point down here, then all this imbalance. So if we were to come down in some sort of a 5 down here to complete a proposed expanded flat, if we got a 3, 3, 5, okay. So now, of course, the media will be, oh my God, Bitcoin's crashing, which is, when we hit 69, in a couple of hours, we dropped 10 grand. And Bitcoin was crashing again, right? And we got it all back, got to 74, and Bitcoin's crashing again. It is amusing how hypersensitive they are and how they define a crash. As far as I'm concerned, please retrace, right? I mean, that's a healthy bull market, right? We want the retracement here. Sooner or later, right? The algos just run out of fuel. They need to come back down here to refuel. You think of it that way. You want to kind of keep it kind of simple, like, oh, okay, Need new buyers, right? I need someone to buy from, right? So if we bring it back down here, well, then it makes sense. Oh, sweep the liquidity, rebalance down here, and then we get off, right? So then we come out of that. Oh, let's go back to an 8 here, and you can see, oh, well, that actually makes perfectly good sense. Now, we keep in mind here, if we do go up here, right? You note, if we were to come up to something like this, which we know this is the 1618. So if we were to complete the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, let me just redraw this real quickly, just to make the point. All right, okay, if we're going to do 1, 2, if we don't know for sure, but if that's the 3 and we're coming down for a 4 here, might as well use prime location, and we come up for something like that. Okay, well, if we come up to that, right, and we stay within the range of this channel, right, now it's not uncommon for a 3 to push out of it, but if we come back in that range, well, what would you be anticipating next, right? It's, again, market, no obligation, but where do they typically go? 37, 38? I mean, is that Bitcoin crashing, or is that Bitcoin just making a healthy retracement? Well, I mean, we all have to make our own conclusions there if that price action comes right now. I mean, we're getting out here into, that we're well into the summer. How long it takes, or this remains to be seen. First, let's get a 4-5 in, right? Before we get into the next retracement, let's get this 4-5 to complete. We're a long way from knowing where we are here, right? Other than something choppy, sloppy has gone on here. Okay, even if you just dig in there, right? So we look here and say, okay, what do I got? What do I have here? What could I have? Probably a better way to say it. Could this be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, we got an overlap right here, so that's not ideal. The retrace here, note, come right to an imbalance. It comes right just a couple of ticks over to get into the premium of that fair value gap. So we've got a fully mitigated here. There's no reason for it to come back. Now, of course, this would probably not surprise anyone where we find that. If that surprises you, you haven't been paying attention. Okay, all right, so we come back here, golden zone in a fair value gap as we tick just on the other edge of the premium. Yeah, duh. Okay, right. Okay, well, all right, well, can we label it? Well, that's a 60-minute. I can't quite get a clean impulse here. So then you might think, oh, is there a 1-2? Is there a baby 1-2 there, 3, 4, 5? So could it be ABC? Maybe, right? It's not. We're kind of, it's awfully soon to be saying, oh, I see exactly what that is, because it's not clear what that is. ABCW, X, we don't really, we want it to be down here. Well, I know, I see that sounds counterintuitive, right? If you're a bull, what do you mean you want it to be $10,000, $15,000 lower? Yes, for a healthy market, that retrace would be good. Good for all the bulls, right? So even though I know just reflexively, just human nature, like, oh, I don't want my profit was so nice up here. You don't want that drawdown, right? Affects us psychologically, but you got to keep some perspective here. Where we go over the next, we got a month and a half, 6 weeks to the halving. Okay, so if we're going to sell off pre-halving, this is nothing to be panicking about. It's amazing to me, right? I go through my feed, even the crypto news, right? It's crypto specific. Bitcoin crashing. What do we do next? Now, I could be completely dead ass wrong, right? It wouldn't be the first time that we're going to do something more severe, or that there's another leg here, and this is some sort of Jesus, I don't know how we're going to get that into a motive, but I suppose we'll find a way. So you look here and say, okay, well, how am I doing on this side? Right? Of course, get it on there. Algo on both sides, right? Always will be. So here, come into a fair value gap here, right? So I'm just in a little algo squeeze. You would, looking at that just purely from an algo perspective, you'd give the advantage to the bulls because this is just a bigger swing, bigger retracement. Look where the target is here for this internal swing, right? There's a 23 right at the golden zone. So just assume that for a second. If we came down here, now this is, that's a big assumption because you can kind of look at it again, see already what's happening again. Right, we're doing it again, right? Bitcoin, it's not just Bitcoin. Every asset, right? This is all it does, right? Over and over and over again. Golden zone, golden zone, golden. It's just algo ping pong until one side rules. Now, so do you have an edge there? Well, I got two of them on this side. You might think of it that way, right? So are we going up here to complete that? Well, that wouldn't disrupt the count terribly. We'd some sort of an A, B if we did this, right? Well, now I'd be leaning into, you got a couple of different scenarios. This could be 1, 2, 1, 2. If we sweep that high, well, that would eliminate that. So this high will be just as telling as this low. Well, if we do this, right, that changes that reduces the number of possibilities here. As we sit right now, we're all sorts of possibilities as to where we could go next. But I almost feel silly saying it, right? You have to pay attention to where the measured move algo is. You have to, right? Or you'll trade right into it, because I guarantee somebody who does not know that that's a golden zone right there bought it there. Just as someone who does not know there's a golden zone right here sold it there. That's the only reason you would do that. You didn't know it was there, right? I mean, you could say, well, of course, one of them's going to break, right? So I'm just assuming that the one's going to break here. Well, okay, but is that where you'd want to enter? Is this where you'd want to long it, short it? I'd love to hear the thinking there as to why anyone in their right mind would do either one of those. I'm not saying they can't go here. I'm just saying, why would you enter there? Lack of information would be the only deduction, a reasonable thought that I can come up with as to why anyone would do that. They don't know it's there. Okay, let me keep moving here. So, because I don't think there's not really a trade here. It's tucked between two golden zones. Come a little bit lower, I'll be buying hand over fist. As it sits, I think you're in hurry up and wait. Let me pause for a second. Let's get over to Ethereum, which I have over here somewhere. Hang on. ETH looks a little different. There's this area here where everybody's making a wild-ass guess as to what we've got. I'm kind of leaning. Let me get rid of that. Just through measuring here, note where we've gone here. If indeed we're going to use this as the one, if this is the one here, which is open for interpretation because this is unclear is what we're doing here. But if I use swing low, swing high, right, the dominant low, dominant high of this range, and I pull from the two and project, well, where's the highest probability location for a wave 3? Right where we started to pivot, right? So it makes me think, okay, some sort of, it's ugly, but 1, 2, ABC, you can see it. Is it ideal? Of course not. Okay, if that's the 3, right now we have a very, let me pull some of this off here. So we know that's the area here. Here we're already in prime zone. We're in the pocket of where we'd be looking for that 4, right there. We got a nice high volume node here. We're going to do it right here. 4, 5. Well, now note. Here, let's just take that one off. This is a very narrow range we're in here. So if we're trying to, oh God, I can't even do it. If I do it this way, if I try and do it this way, here and get that channeling, it's pretty skinny. I've got Sonar Labs on here, their SMC products. So swing low, swing high. So here's the 50 right here, right? Here's premium discount. Now, if we're coming that far down, A, B, we're coming here. Now we're going to get really, on the outside edge of what you'd hope to spot. Now let's clone it just to see if we can make that fit a little bit more cleanly, right? So there's a 50% increase in that channel that, doesn't look so bad then. Right into the, well, so what would that do, right? It would get us right into the come here, into the discount. I think I'm in log. No, I'm not in log. Okay, so good. So I'll be right into the discount here, premium discount. Get me just a toe in. All right, where does that put me? 31.29. What I got here? POC. Coming a little bit lower. Well, you can understand here. Here's the consolidation. We really don't want it going that much lower. But that's what I'd be looking for. The retracements are healthy for the bull. So my suggestion would be, don't be sweating the retracement. Be open-minded to your next entry for a long. How about I say it that way? Okay, I don't know if there's much to add there. Okay, so this came across my feed this week, which looked kind of interesting. It's not quite ripe yet, but I like it. I like the setup here. This is Multiverse X, which I guess it used to be called Elrond. It used to be called Elrond. It's a terrible name. I don't know that Multiverse X is much better, but it's just a beautiful technical setup. Oh, let's see. I'm already on a daily. So if I've got to pull back here from some of this here. From the swing high here, this is over on KuCoin where I have more history, but you could trade this. If you're in the States, you can trade this on, I think Kraken, Coinbase, they've got it. I'm not sure about Gemini. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I've got a nice finish down here. Now, it gets a little skinny at the bottom, right? But that squeaks by, right? We can come right up to the edge of it, but you got a pretty good 1, 2 there. And then another 1, 2. So 3, this looks clearly the 4 triangle, A, B, C, D, E, right? There's your triangle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just beautiful Elliott, right? Beautiful Elliott impulse to complete up here. Now we get a double top here. This is much like Bitcoin. It's kind of this choppy, ugly. We're going to turn that into. So one thought that should occur to you is like, oh, could we be here? 3, 4, 5. I think not until I'm forced to do that. I would prefer to keep this. I'm in log scale here, but if I just channel this, right, we want to keep this self-contained where we can, right? So I would defer to this being the one here, and because number one, there's also a very clean impulse here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives me a nice looking A. The B, A, B, C, it's not pretty. So I get a true double up here. But the target for the C lines up pretty nicely here if I just put a set of median lines on it, right to the POC, right to the center median line, and then right to let's see here, where are you? If I pull this over like this, or right to the 50 here, so you've got this nice concentration right here, right? So if the opportunity is presented here, so you can see I've got alerts on it up here a little higher. So if we're coming towards this pivot here, which is both of these potential liquidity grabs, if we're coming down towards this, I do not want to miss that. Pretty nice setup here, and we're not, this is a reasonable asset here. We're not in the, 0.4 of 1/100th of a cent. So we come down here, right? It's not an index, but you'd be buying under 50. So pretty much anything under 50 here would be very attractive. What do we got here? Crypto news, Multiverse to launch derivatives trading. Interesting, right? So that might be part of what's creating this little push here. Now, is it a B or not, right? We're going to find out. But I would be reluctant to take a trade off of the idea that I've finished the correction here. Now, is it possible? Of course, right? Anything's possible. But don't you like it a little bit more down here? 1, A, B, C. Yeah, I do. All right, so if we start to go here, boy, I'm going to have to really see a clear way that we're getting this into an impulse or a motive, right? So we're not going to have an impulse. But okay, that's going to take a lot for me to want to push the 1 over here or push the 2 over here. It just doesn't have the right look. Doesn't mean it's not. Can't do that, right? Of course, right? It's never what we're saying. It's just we want to trade where we feel we have the best setup, right? And much of that is what has the right look, right? Very, very much of Elliott, we have the right look or not, right? If you don't have it, I think that's often where Elliotticians get into trouble. They're forcing it because, well, I've got a 5 and there's a kind of a wacky 3. Don't force it. There's just never a need to. Never. There's so many things to trade, right? Always better if you're unsure, get out. Just get out. Reevaluate. Let them, because does anybody have any strong conviction as to what I have here? So what we have here? No, I don't care who you are. You don't. You're guessing. It's a wag, right? We're all wagging there. It's a wild ass guess. Okay, A, B. So if I want it to be a B, so can I fit some sort of a 3 in there? Well, it's not obvious. So is that the bias of what you want to see, or I should say my bias of what I want to see influencing the decision there? Well, number one, I would never, ever, under any sort of, ever would I buy that, ever. I would never. Well, number one, you're buying right into a fair value gap. Do I want to do that? I'd never buy a breakout. I do not buy breakouts. So that's just a hard rule. So I don't even have to, there's no sweat here. I'm not going to buy it. So what am I hoping for? A retrace. Where I would buy it, right? I only buy retracements, right? I don't buy breakouts, ever. So my strong suggestion, right, if you want to listen to me, take me for what it's worth, right, take it or leave it. This is not the way to make money long-term in the market. You want to buy retracements. You don't want to buy breakouts. But you can learn that the hard way, as I did, right, as I've said many, for 5 years. I did that for years. I've tested it so much, it's now a hard rule. I never, ever do it. Okay, right, so there we go. I got three to take a quick look at here. I'll be back to a regular schedule next week. Just unusual circumstance yesterday kept me from getting that done on a Friday. So there you go. A couple to chew on. I don't know if there's so much of crypto, right? We've had the kick, and now if we're retracing, right, crashing, is all of crypto is crashing. That's just what I want to hear, right? Because that means opportunity. Okay, guys, have a good weekend. We'll catch you. Well, we've got a couple of things lined up next week. I think we're going to do a live stream with Brian from Santiment again, perhaps on Wednesday, and we'll have a few other surprises. Okay, guys, have a good weekend.